Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Full Force Movie News Burst Live Special with me, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic AT, brought to you by REBORN.com. I say special, but it's kind of, live shows, it's just par for the course now, isn't it? In any case, how's everyone doing this fine snowy afternoon out here? It's really snowy. It's like 5 inches outside, Kitty said. Anyway, enough of that. Hope you're all doing well. A little bit of news to talk about today. I thought I would, take advantage of the fact that I was, on a snow day today. Let's call it. Just slid over from Nerdrotic for this. Okay, Jedi Ben Wicked. So a little bit of news has cropped up, and I thought, I'll take advantage of the day and do a cheeky little one. It's only going to be a short news burst. Hopefully, I'll be able to get Justin on for a longer chat as more kind of news develops on this. But it's nice that I know, we'll get into all those details. But the obviously it's movie related news. Now, it's of course completely understandable that people are, cautious over being too excited about anything involving Lorenzo di Bonaventura with G.I. Joe and Transformers and what have you. I get that. I understand that. But obviously this is news, and I want to talk about it, report on it, and maybe discuss what could come from it as well. So let's get stuck into this. Anywho, and it gives us an excuse to listen to that cool music again. Bum, 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 ba-dum, 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 sorry, it's just a banger, isn't it? Anyway, yes. So, I got ahead of myself. Lols. LDB comments on crossover. Yes. So obviously we're talking Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. Lorenzo di Bonaventura has been discussing the Transformers G.I. Joe movie crossover during a presser for Madam Web. And he actually was asked the question on a YouTube channel called Phase One. The link is in the description below. It took me a few moments to find the full interview. I was originally, the news kind of popped up on TFW, so I checked that out. And obviously the video that was on comicbook.com, because that's who was reporting on it, they had taken their information from Phase One YouTube interview. So there you go. There's your sources all in one there. TFW, comicbook.com, and originally Phase One YouTube channel. So when I was looking at the interview, looking at the videos to see which one it was, it's actually the one where he talks to the whole cast and Lorenzo di Bonaventura. So I've put the link in the description anyway, so you can see that at the time he gets asked the question as well about the G.I. Joe Transformers specifically crossover. So again, it took me a little while, and he doesn't really say a lot either. In fact, here he is on Phase One during the Madam Web presser, and this is what he said. This is the full quote that he could talk about at the time. The honest truth is, I don't know. I know we are going to deliver on the promise we made. So that's nice. At least we know that this is still a thing, because it's one of those situations in it sometimes, especially in the movies, where you talk about this one week, there might be another little kind of follow-up story the following week. You might get a little bit of conversation about it, and then it just goes absolutely radio silent for months and months and months, and nothing pops up, nothing's said. And I mean, usually it's because things are being developed, they're being written, they're being discussed, they're being planned, they might just be in a holding pattern waiting for other things to happen elsewhere. So it's always, it's one of those things where you're just constantly waiting for things, isn't it? RKW was asked, what did they promise? Good shout. I'll explain what they promised. What that means is, anyway, what they promised at the end of Rise of the Beasts. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you weren't aware of the end of Rise of the Beasts, I'm sorry, there's a bit of a spoiler alert here, but G.I. Joe is heavily crossed over in the movie. So Michael Kelly is talking to, as in Michael Kelly, the actor. I don't know what agent. What agent name was he? I've forgotten his agent name. Agent Burke, is it? Or I think it's Burke. Agent Burke is talking to Noah Diaz, who is the character in The Rise of the Beasts, who at the end of the film he's trying to get a job. He's going for a job interview, basically, what looks to be some sort of shipping company, or like, you know, just some sort of standard company. And at the end, he's talking to Noah Diaz, and he doesn't really let on that he's G.I. Joe initially, and Noah doesn't really know what's going on. And then he offers him the chance to join the team that are fighting. Doesn't say the name of anything, doesn't say anything like that. He just hands him a business card, walks to the back of the room, the wall opens up, and he disappears into a very high-tech looking you know, kind of warehouse, kind of hidden behind them, kind of thing. He disappears, and then Noah's just left there with a business card, standing looking at a wall, going, what the hell just happened? Where do I go now? And did I get the job? Probably not. Or I probably have got a job, just not in the shipping company that I thought I was getting a job with. So that is effectively what he's talking about when he says deliver on the promise we made. He's talking about the end of Rise of the Beasts, basically. Now, the other thing, a couple of points to kind of bring up here, first of all, is the fact that in terms of like G.I. Joe, and for a lot of, you know, examples of poor Transformers product as well, movie-wise, Lorenzo di Bonaventura doesn't have the strongest track record. But this is where the property is at. This is where the brand is being controlled. So, you know, in terms of films. So this is kind of what we have to work with at the moment. So that's kind of out of our control completely, isn't it? Now, the next point is, you know, you can't guarantee quality at the end of the day. The end of Rise of the Beasts was okay. I enjoyed it. It was better, much better watch than the last few apart from Bumblebee, because I enjoyed Bumblebee as well. But the last few Transformers movies I just thought were freaking awful. The last few, actually, you can count probably the third one onwards. I think the second one was actually, honestly, it's really just the first one I enjoyed. And then everything following that is just a little bit of a struggle. And it just seems to get worse and worse as the franchise moves on. Bumblebee, I thought, was a really good move. I really enjoyed it. Really loved what they did with it. I love the cast. And yeah, I really thought that was like a step up. But even if it wasn't, you know, a step up in the box office, you know. But Rise of the Beasts was definitely like in my opinion, again, from a viewing standpoint and enjoyment standpoint, it was a step above what was the last one? Age of Extinction, whatever the last one was called. I don't think it was Age of Extinction, the last mainline one, was it? It was I forget what it was. Anyway, I think I felt like it was a critical step up, not obviously from a successful point of view. Now, we have also we talk about crossover movie as well, but I think what I'm planning is that they're going to incorporate G.I. Joe into the next Transformers film. That doesn't mean it's not going to be Transformers versus G.I. Joe, etc., or Transformers / G.I. Joe, or whatever you want to say in terms of a crossover film. It will be a Transformers movie first and foremost, with G.I. Joe elements sprinkled in. Maybe like the slow build origins of what and how G.I. Joe have kind of come to being. So that is effectively what their plans are. Now, I've already talked about Lorenzo di Bonaventura's kind of track record in the G.I. Joe and Transformers quality of films, but I know a lot of people are like, you know, not having strong what's the word? Don't have strong confidence in Madam Web either, from what they've seen so far. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I would also say, Wilfred, I know Madam Web isn't expected to do well. I get that kind of vibe. I wonder how much of that is. I mean, the trailer was pretty hilarious, wasn't it? There was that comment that Dakota Johnson says in the trailer, where it's like, it's just so funny. It's like she was like a spider scientist. It's just one of that funny, like, it's written really weirdly. I'm not expecting great things from Madam Web, but I will probably see it. The thing is, though, with that, like I said, I'll reserve judgment till I see it. But again, I don't think the confidence is very strong on what is being produced at the moment from these companies, from this particular company at least. This is Sony, isn't it? I've got the this particular side of the Spider-Verse. Di Bonaventura needs a court order to be kept 100 miles from G.I. Joe. He has no idea, says Braden. Yeah, like, again, unfortunately, we don't have. This is the thing, isn't it? You don't kind of control who has control over the brand in the film scenario. It's a shame that the whole E1 sort of thing didn't kind of, didn't work out at the end of the day, because I think if they'd have had like an in-house studio, which is easier said than done, let's face it, I think we could have been, I think you could have had more control. The Hasbro would have had more control over it. But then, having said that, are they necessarily the ones that will give us a decent movie? It's hard to say, isn't it? Probably not at the end of the day. Should we trust this guy with Hasbro films? Last I checked, Madam Web is not doing very well in sales. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I just talked about it with the Madam Web thing. I'm not sure how much of that is down to poor marketing, because again, I think we don't know what the film's going to be like, really, and it could be really good. But we'll see. If they do a crossover movie, I hope it's not based on Earth, says RKW. I like the thought of being, a little bit more kind of out there, maybe Star Brigade, Space Force, that kind of vibe. But that said, I do like the thought of them just sprinkling in incorporations of it rather than just slamming it in there. And now we've got a crossover sort of thing. This is the first time that I've actually agreed with them in a sort of like direction, when it's like, we're not going to just do a crossover films next. It's going to be another Transformers movie. We're going to do this. We're going to do the Avengers style build up with G.I. Joe, and I think that's probably the right way to go about it, if they're going to do it at all, which it looks like they are. Now, he could have said, the honest truth is I don't know, and we'll see how it goes. But he didn't. He didn't say that. He said, I know we are going to deliver on the promise we made. So that is like, to me, that is like, if we take it, like, we take all the talk about what we expect quality-wise, what we expect from, a G.I. Joe kind of incorporated Transformers sort of setup. If we focus on this particular comment and talk about it from a perspective of, is this going to happen or not? I think this is a very positive, like, this is a comment that leads me to believe they're not effing around and they will go ahead and really start doing this for real. I mean, if you didn't need more evidence of that last scene in The Rise of the Beast, which isn't, it's not an end credit scene, it's not a mid credit scene. Yeah, it's not a post credit scene, it's not a mid credit scene. It's the end of the film. It's like literally you're still in the runtime before credits hit. So that to me is way more purposeful than a forgettable throwaway sort of, I'm not saying that post credits are not important or they're a bit throwaway, but they have been known to be in the past. Some things have happened in post credit scenes that we've never seen the likes of in the future. RKW, that's another good point. So obviously Lorenzo di Bonaventura is the producer, not the director. So this assumes he remains the producer, I think is what you mean there. Or are you talking about the director on Rise of the Beasts? Because that is another good point as well. Because I think he's driving it just as much. He's as excited about this prospect of the Transformers G.I. crossover as Lorenzo di Bonaventura is, even though I would say that LDB has been pushing it away a little bit for a fairly decent amount of time. Brother Malachi says, I am concerned he might speed up the crossover too fast and not give the two franchises time to build separately because he won't know when his contract will expire. Good point. I think, like I said, I think the fact that they're not jumping into a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover in the next film is a good indication of the long game here. And I think, like, a post-credit scene on this movie, great, Rise of the Beast, done. And the next one, you start, like, maybe there's certain characters that you don't know until maybe later on in the film. Oh, and there's a G.I. Joe here. This is what it is. There's a thing here. It's developed, it's grown, it's built into something, and then you're kind of revealed a little bit about it in the film, but it's not the focus. It's more of a, vehicle for some of the military, effectively. I mean, Miguel, they have done like the military crossover with the first Transformers movie, and I love that movie. I'm into that. I like that first Transformers film. I thought it was a good balance. It was a good blend of humor, of action. The CGI was pretty cool, and some of the Transformers were amazing. And even though some of the designs were a bit annoying, and I don't like that kind of spiky look and the loads and loads and loads of, points of was it 30 something thousand points of articulation sort of scenario, then there was a lot of good stuff about that first movie, but it just became a parody of itself in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and etc. How many Transformers movies do we need? As many as people keep going to watch, I guess, although it is getting to that point where I feel like they have to do something a lot different. I thought Bumblebee was a great direction to go in. Again, it wasn't, though. The problem was with the Bumblebee, it wasn't a huge box office hit. It did okay, but it didn't blow the doors off. It certainly didn't come anywhere near what the crappiest Transformers movie, and again, I say the crappiest, like critically the worst, it came nowhere near that. And I think that there's that other aspect of the other thing. The other elephant in the room with this is how movie going experiences have changed. COVID was a game changer. It was already going down a certain path before COVID happened, but COVID really changed the game because it forced people to be like, right, I'm just going to stream everything and stay in, watch complete Netflix, and then complete, I don't know, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, whatever you had, Paramount Plus, all of them, and then it completely was a game changer, and I think it's had an effect even now. I don't think movie-going audiences are anywhere near what they used to be. So I don't know. I think it might be a good. It's probably a good thing. It's probably a better thing if they try a different direction with the movies and just go with it. Yes, but I honestly think one film apiece for each franchise is enough before the big jump. At least in the first live-action attempt for G.I. Joe, the organization started small. Absolutely, brother. Sad thing is, Bayformers was a better G.I. Joe series than Transformers. the first one was. The rest of it's awful. Well, let's talk about that as well. Another example where I think they went too fast was the Snake Eyes film. They crammed too much story into one film, no breathing to it. I mean, one of the main problems I think with the Snake Eyes film is the fact that the protagonist, Snake Eyes, the one that you're supposed to absolutely love, fall in love with, be well behind, and just be like, feel for them, feel the pain, feel the tragedy, all that kind of stuff. You don't feel it for him. You go from, obviously it's really sad when he's a kid and he loses his dad. That's awful, and you can see him but it goes from like sadness to just aggression and anger almost immediately. And I feel like there was no period of like time in that space of him growing up to be Snake Eyes. None of that was looked at or developed. It was like, let's cut straight to adult Snake Eyes. I understand why that is the case, but it doesn't allow you to see any of his life growing up, how he goes from that point to, to surviving, basically. Where does he go? What does he do? How does he do it? He seems like as a child in that film at the start, he seems grossly underprepared for what life is about to throw at him. And that's obviously one way of becoming a certain way personality-wise, of course. But like, there was no development into how he became that way. On top of that, the film does not ever, I don't think, redeem Snake Eyes. I don't think he ever redeems himself as a character. It's so late in the game when he literally screws them over. He should have been stealing that rock early on, and then it should have been a case of he realizes his mistake. He comes back to the clan. They talk it through. They rectify it. Storm Shadow is maybe annoyed that he's been taken back in despite his transgression early on, and then it's like the phase of him kind of becoming, Snake Eyes, and then you get that kind of clash growing with Storm Shadow, and then at the end there's the big battle where you don't feel as though Snake Eyes has immediately destroyed the Arashikage like he does at the end of the movie. Do you know what I mean? I feel like he goes straight into it, and he right at the end of the film, he takes his revenge, or he doesn't take his revenge at the end. He doesn't actually do what he wanted to do, or was planning to do, but he gives up the MacGuffin, and then straight away the Arashikage are wiped out almost immediately. The whole place is destroyed, and then he comes back, and then they fight a little bit, and then it's like Storm Shadow gets it in the neck for wanting to wipe out Kenta, which I don't think was a bad idea, honestly. Anyway, and then I just feel like it just falls short in those areas because of the structure of the film, the way it was written, and I don't really, I have watched that film, and like when I first saw the film, I was really excited. I got to see it, very advanced, because I was doing a lot of press for it, and I was really I was buzzing. When I came out of it, I definitely thought to myself, I don't think, I enjoyed it, but there's shortcomings. And I also came out of it thinking, I don't think the fandom are gonna take to this. And I didn't really know exactly why or how that was going to be the case until it all started coming out after the fact. Watched it again and was like, oh yeah. And you start seeing things. Do you know what I mean? You start seeing certain aspects of the film, and you go like, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. And that was the case for a number of points in the film. And again, I think the structure, the writing had a lot to do with it. I think the other problem I have with the film as well, I'll get to some of your comments in a second, sorry guys. It's funny, I really love Henry Golding, but I did not like his character as Snake Eyes. I really liked Akiko, I really liked Storm Shadow. I ended up actually thinking screw this, Storm Shadow, you leave and kick off, man. That's not right. And I thought Scarlet was really just not 100% necessary. She jumps in at the end. It just felt really, why is she on her own, heli lifted in, dropping into the Arashikage, knowing there's a battle on, and that it's just her they've dropped in there. That made no sense, that part. And it almost felt like, when something's sellotaped instead of glued. It just felt like a weird temporary sort of throw it, not really thought about, sort of throw it in there sort of vibe. And I'd like to have seen more of Scarlet, 100%. I thought Baroness was really good though. I liked her character, how she played her, but it was some weird stuff. Anyway, like I said, I came out of that, saw it a couple of times afterwards, and was like, yeah, and then felt that. After a while, I realized that, there's a structural problem here, because you get to the end of the film and Snake Eyes is not redeemed, and yet everyone's like, you can be on the G.I. Joe team, your dad was a Joe, and everything's cool, and you're fine. Here's a Snake Eyes costume. Go and get Tommy back. It's like, what? Why is everyone kissing his butt all of a sudden? He didn't do anything other than, turn back and fought some of the bad guys off a little bit, but not much. Anyway, sorry, I'm just multitasking. Yeah, so not very well, obviously. So yeah, and I just that yeah. Anyway, so that was my issue, and something that you mentioned there earlier in the comment. I can't remember what it was you said actually now. Um, yeah, cram too much story into one film, brother. And I kind of agree. I feel like it wasn't that. I feel like the other aspect I wasn't I think was they went wrong with. They didn't go full on sci-fi. It was like real life, grounded, and then there were these random weird sci-fi mystery elements. And it's like you kind of either lean into it or you don't bother or you make it very subtle. And yet we had floating rocks, we had snakes, giant snakes that sensed honor, and when you lied about things, it was like, and then all of the I really wish they'd looked at it as like a science meets the Arashikage clan, and all of the weird sci-fi stuff was actually just like explained away by technology. And I think that would have been a cool way to do it, like that the kind of scene where he kind of sees his dad and talks to his dad, maybe that was like drug induced, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like I just feel like stuff like that would have been better for the story and for the universe that they built, but it wasn't. The first Transformers movie with Josh Duhamel was basically an unofficial Joe crossover. It kind of was, wasn't it, Rachel? I wish they'd just given them the G.I. Joe names, just given them some code names, not say G.I. Joe, not say just say a secret government organization, and they could have like a special ops team, and it's like friggin' Duke and Flint and things like that. It would have been great. I don't think this crossover can work unless they actually turn these last two Transformers films into a reboot instead of being prequels. I also don't like them being stuck in the past now. Yeah, I feel that too. I mean, I did like, again, I like the fact that we're seeing like periods and growth and kind of going into a certain direction. I don't know, I quite like that. I do like the when's the next one? What's the next one going to be? Like the 2000s, the early 2000s probably. The main problem I had with Snake Eyes film was that they used Western cinematographers to film Japanese coordinated fights. That was a seriously bad decision. Actually, Diana, I feel like they got all these people in, brilliant people, to do the fight scenes, and then just screwed it up completely with how they filmed it. Exactly what you're saying, basically there. But yeah, like the shaky cam stuff for when there were fights happening, and you're like, no, I want to see these fights. I want to see this done properly. For example, like, if you watch Warrior, that is, well, I think it's come to an end now. I don't think there are any more seasons in the works, which is really sad. But that was a great show with Andrew Koji, who I adore, by the way. I think he is just freaking awesome. He's great in that. I thought he was great as Storm Shadow. I know he'd never reprise his role, but I tell you now, I'd have him in a heartbeat for Storm Shadow. He is perfect for Storm Shadow. I just want to see him in a digital camo version 2 costume. That would be so sweet. Anyway, yeah, I think G.I. Joe should be a 60s, 80s period piece, to be honest, starting with Snake and Nam, with Shadow. That's the whole first film. Second film is him going to see the Arashikage after his family dies. I mean, yeah, it's effectively, you're just describing what we've had with Marvel, a real American hero, and so on and so forth, which is, I think it wouldn't be a bad way to go about it. But I think also, if you're talking about wanting a big audience to see it now, putting it that far back might, not interest or intrigue a lot of people, like who don't really have the same feeling of that kind of era as, a lot of our generation do. Other than that, I just think of it as a Sunbow Snake Eyes and imagine we'd get more backstory and redemption later. Nice. I kind of wish they'd gone full Sunbow on it. Like, just go full Sunbow. Let's do something really wacky. I would love to see multiple media points for G.I. Joe. I'd love to see, we've got the comics and they are phenomenal at the moment. I'm telling you now, like, I am all in on the Energon universe. I'm all in on the Real American Hero run currently. I am a Skybound simp. So I'm like totally all over Skybound right now. Now, in terms of like, I think animation would be great. I'd love it if they did a continuation of the Sunbow series, as if, like following on from the movie. not as if Deke doesn't exist, but sort of if Deke doesn't exist. I'd like them to do something like that. I think that would be really fun to do. And if not, can we get that blooming Saturday morning adventures sort of vibe from the IDW were doing? Can we get that with Skybound, please? Because I would love that to continue. That was such a good mini-series. It needs to be happening all the time. Anyway, yeah, so so an animation would be fun, and then I think a live TV series, a live TV series, I think would be awesome. And we've seen some. I mean, you just have to. I'm not saying they have to be like super adult and proper like gritty or whatever, because obviously SEAL Team is pretty hardcore for that. But that's a really good show. I think the last series is in development now, isn't it? But that's one I really enjoy. What a real sad last episode though so far. What was the other one I was thinking of? Oh, that Lioness. Oh, that was so good. That was the Lioness show. That was actually one of those shows I was talking to Justin about. It felt like it lined up really well with the development of the Lady J series, and we were just thinking, I wonder if some ideas or some copy, like some treatments had maybe made their way in that direction. But no, it's probably not that case. Either way, it was an interesting thing to talk about, and something that I thought, yeah, would be a great like G.I. Joe premise if they were to do a Lady J focused sort of series. Problem with modern entertainment, unlikable characters, whether on purpose or by accident. Absolutely. Spot on notes on the movie, Chris. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. The problem is that like they've never told a story in the history of the line that worked. It's like, have you not seen the entire line of story possibilities in the comics? There's a good point there, honestly, Jedi Ben. There's a lot. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of good storytelling in the G.I. Joe universe, 100%, that could be done in a movie capacity. I agree with that. It's almost like I feel like I just wish sometimes they just get it over with, do it, and if it's successful, great, everyone was right. And if it wasn't, then they can say, well, we did it that way and it didn't work. So, they could at least get it done and out of the way, rather than kind of keep going down these kind of like these roads that don't seem to really generate much in the way of anything other than, well, we got The Rock in it, or we got Christopher Eccleston as Destro, or do you know what I mean? Like the movie shouldn't just be like Matt Damon isn't a plot point, as I once heard a good friend of mine say. Mike, shout out to Mike Irizarry. Matt Damon is not a plot point. And that's what happened sort of in Inception, or not Inception, sorry, Interstellar, which I've got to say, I love the point. I thought it was really funny, but I still love that movie and don't really, I think the fact that he is Matt Damon is just a nice little additional shock value when the guy appears in that. Yeah. But anyway, if you haven't seen Interstellar, I apologize for spoiling it. But that particular aspect is kind of like a side point. But yeah, the Perfect Snake Eyes movie was written in issues 26 and 27. It was a pretty good story. You destroyed our clan and got our heir banished. Here's a motorcycle and a ninja suit. Exactly, Rachel. Andrew Koji was excellent at Storm Shadow. I'd like to see more, but in a rebooted, better movie. I genuinely don't think he'd ever reprise his role, but I'm with you on that. I would love to see Andrew Koji returning, and I think he was absolutely phenomenal. Clothesline Media. Okay, this is totally cool. I get the critique of Snake Eyes movie, but I actually liked it. I suspect if it was made the same summer of 2008, people would have enjoyed it. This is such a great time for adults who grew up with the 80s, on 80s and 90s. I'm grateful we are all still enjoying this stuff. And that is totally like, I enjoyed it too. This is the thing. I think my enjoyment of it has soured over the years because of the way it's been, discussed as a fandom. And again, I totally understand that why people don't like it, because after a while I've seen, you feel it's hard to watch now because of the connotations of the poor success, and the way it's kind of been taken by the fans. Do you know what I mean? So like, but I agree, if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. There's nothing wrong with that. I watched Warrior because of Koji Stormy and really enjoyed it. Great show. Yeah, it was phenomenal. Kong Skull Island made it work. Oh, Bill Pope. Right, yeah. I love that movie too. Actually, I really enjoyed Kong Skull Island. I actually really like the way SE Film showed off Japan, and if it's true that Paramount is getting to make a movie based on the Yakuza games, that they put that part of the SE team on it. Yeah, again, I think there were certain aspects of the film I really liked, but then there were some parts that I thought felt and looked low budget, and I feel like they could, they put all that work into the fights and the fight scenes and training the team and all those amazing videos we were seeing. I was getting so excited for the fight scenes, and it really didn't deliver on that side of things at all. Diana says, I did try. Now, this is talking about the cartoon-based Sunbow miniseries for comics, right? But Skybound wanted a clean break from IDW. That's interesting. Okay, that's fair enough. Then in that case, let's get a Sunbow cartoon going then, please and thank you. I agree with them. I agree with that too, Diana. It's you want to do it your own way. It makes sense. A live TV series in the style of Stargate SG-1 would be perfect for G.I. Joe. Would be pretty cool, actually, TJMB. Yes. Matt, this is another good point. This is another thing that came up today. Hey, Chris, I saw your post about Hasbro profits being down again and then planning on cutting $750 million. Real disappointing to hear that, and I hope there is not a huge amount of layoffs. I'm afraid that's what I was insinuating, Matt, on my post. When I said this does not bode well, a few people were commenting, yeah, but they haven't, it's not... It looks like G.I. Joe's still doing well. And I'm like, yeah, but this is about them cutting as much as they can, in a short period of time. And they are not good at, keeping employees on during moments like this. So very concerned at the moment that this new kind of news will lead into... It's almost like I feel like their PR department put these stories, out like this so that it gives them an excuse to so it takes some of the edge off the layoffs news later on, which they don't really ever broadcast necessarily. It usually sneaks out on some sort of local article sort of scenario, like on the Providence Journal or maybe Yahoo Business, sometimes Yahoo Finance, but it usually doesn't get press released. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they're telling the world they just laid loads of people off. You have to kind of do some digging for that. So again, yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about friends and what have you, and people that work there and the team, and you're just hoping that it doesn't necessarily lead to that straight away. Lioness highly recommended, says Johnny. Just have David Boreanaz as Hawk in G.I. Joe, says Jedi Ben. Yes. What was his name in the Buffy series? Was it Angel? Was he Angel? Yeah, he's great in SEAL Team. I think doing Dreadnoks as a TV show would work for them as an entry point to Joe. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Yeah. Let's have a movie that starts towards the end of World War II with the Red Shadows discovering Energon. Okay, you had me at hello. But Matt Damon as Lieutenant Falcon. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Clothesline Media says, everyone always talks about modernizing the story, but I think Joe's Transformers and even Batman work better as period pieces. I totally agree with you. I mean, the proof is in the pudding there, because they worked at that stage in time and have very rarely worked since. I mean, they have worked in different capacities, but in terms of media, it's like it does seem like one thing seems to work more than the rest. And Deke does exist, I know, but I'm kind of thinking about I want a continuation of the Sunbow series so we can get more Sunbow style stories. Anyway, a Sunbow cartoon that picks up immediately post the movie would be so much fun, like time travel back to 1988. Yeah, just a few little like maybe some just interim mini story kind of missions would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Yes, Matt Damon is too pretty to be Falcon at the moment. Ving Rhames, that guy who was Zeus in the WWE, or the guy from the Green Mile, should be Roadblock, not The Rock. Rock was just there because famous. Rock felt like that felt like the Matt Damon is not a plot point sort of situation. I mean, it was The Rock that people were going to go and see there, and then the other 5 people were going because it was a G.I. Joe movie. How about a movie that picks up post Pyramid of Darkness? I'm down. This sucks for Hasbro because Disney controls most of licensing. That may be why Hasbro new board slogan is fewer, better, bigger. Possibly, Josh, yeah. Anyway, that's the news for today. Let's quickly... I just like listening to this music, so I'm going to transition. Bam, 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 bam. Anywho, yes, I will. That is it. That's it for today. And the news burst, the movie news burst. I'm hoping to get. I'm going to see if Justin can ever do some lives, and maybe we'll just start doing live movie news bursts when we can. But yeah, obviously, his availability is like 1 hour a week. It's usually when I'm not available. So we'll try and get some stuff going on that one. And hopefully we'll get more movie news burst in the future as well. So in summarization, Lorenzo di Bonaventura has commented very, very briefly, link in the description, obviously, if you want to check out the interview. You can, yeah, sorry, Matt, you full forced it a little bit early there. I'm kidding, it's fine. You can full force it whenever you want. I'm happy to have full forces at any point during the show. It doesn't have to be at the end, all right? So yeah, he's a very brief comment about the movie the Transformers G.I. Joe movie crossover, and saying that they will almost certainly be delivering on their promise of this crossover in some way, shape, or form. So I'll tell Justin it's Sigma 6 related information, Rachel. Yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, I've got some Sigma 6 movie news. He'll be like, I'm there. Let's do it now at this moment before I've done any graphics for it. Yes, okay. So yeah, that kind of keeps the hopes alive that we're going to see G.I. Joe on film again at some point, which is whether it's crap or not, at least I can be excited for the build up of it, right? Yeah, cool. I'll be back actually. Not Kitty, Arnie said. I was thinking of obviously doing this unboxing a little bit, maybe later tonight. We'll see if I can squeeze that in tonight. I'm probably going to go off now to shovel some snow, but I will. Oh, well, I'll use a snowblower. It's fine. But I will be back, like I said, either with Shockwave or with some new news in the future. So stay fresh, cheese bags. And as always, after 3, Matt's already done it, but we can all do it together now, and Matt can do it again. 1, 2, 3. Full force! Cue music. That's it for this installment of the Full Force Movie News Burst. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, full force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full force.